so this is the next section, budgeting income. This is more focusing on your banking relationship. So a lot of people, their first bank was when their parents brought them up to the bank. You sat with the bank, personal banker, and they open up their bank account. Most people never change the institution they originally banked with. Okay, so a lot of people out here used to bank with Wachovia, then they changed to Wells Fargo, and they don't really consider what's important in their banking relationships. Now, the caveat is it probably doesn't really matter until you start accumulating some wealth, because checking and savings is about the same. The personality of the bank changes when you are doing something outside of the box. So these are some things that you should think about with your banking. Keep it simple. When I was younger, I have a finance undergraduate degree as well. I had about 10 different bank accounts, really tried to allocate money to each single bank account, but that's not functional. Keep it simple. Track your expenses on the back end. Do not try to track it within your bank account, okay? Focus on the fees that your bank is charging you. Some bank accounts have fees. I think because you guys go to college here, you guys can get a college checking account. Take advantage of all those little things, because when we were younger, banks didn't charge fees, but now you guys are in this situation where banks charge fees. So if you can't get a cheap bank account at one of the major institutions, think about a credit union, think about a community bank. Set up direct deposit from your job. I think that's pretty straightforward. But there is something that you guys need to be aware of. You guys are going to have your degrees and make a lot of money, become successful. But there is a segment of the population that won't go to college, won't make a lot of money. They're called the unbanked, okay? Have you ever seen the rush cards where your money goes directly to your card or debit card? Those are the individuals who do not participate in direct deposit. You guys will probably automatically register for that service. Single fee is to set up 2 checking accounts, savings, moving money in between the two. I have what you call a bill payment account. That way if, let's say, Sue-Ann in Omaha, fat fingers an extra 0 on the number, it won't put both of my accounts in default, right? So always worry about that. We live in a digital world where we have other people submit payments for us. Things happen, and you don't want that to throw your whole life off track. You're not having to pay your bills for a week, have your lights cut off. So making sure you have those internal checks are important. Regularly check your bank account balances. We're going to have an app that shows you that. But this is something that you should monitor. Basically, like I said, when you clicked on your fast with 2 clicks, you became an adult. Adulting is checking your bank accounts. There really should not be an excuse for insufficient funds based on an anticipation error. In life, stuff happens, so stuff becomes insufficient. But don't let something of you not keeping your eye on the ball, because though your wealth definitely does not define you, how you manage your money is a little bit how you kind of respect yourself, okay? Let's see. If you have good history with your bank, apply for a credit card. When we were younger, they just kind of gave out credit cards to everybody, right? Now there's some laws that prevent you guys from obtaining a credit card, so you do have to have a good standing with the bank. If you can't get a credit card with the bank, the traditional credit card, ask for what is called a funded credit card. It's another word, but basically you deposit that money, secured credit card. Basically you deposit that money in the credit card so that reports to the credit agencies, because building credit is actually important. I'm a big no debt guy, but credit means something in this world to a lot of different people. Next slide, okay? Keep track of your bill payments. So we do a lot of payments online. They send that little ping to your email account, right? Say you have made a purchase. Have some way to save this amount. Legally, you're actually supposed to save all your bank accounts for about 3 years for tax purposes. So what I do is probably around January, I just set up a week or a couple of days, and all I do is go into my credit card account, my bank account, and save the PDFs of those statements so I can have as my records. This is part of adulting that nobody talks about. Keep your records, own your records, and keep them just in a simple file like this. I don't break them out that much. I just do a data dump, and I know how to look for it because I labeled it appropriately. But you guys should be saving the history of your financial transactions. Especially, you should have an internal threshold, okay? I'm a little bit anal. I have anything over 100, I track, right? Or I save the backup. But if you have yours as 500, the large transactions, keep the receipts, keep the documents, take a picture, scan. With technology today, they have made that extremely easy. Set online bill pay. If you're not an individual that wants to stay on top of it, which a lot of people aren't, a lot of people just want to take a step back, work their career, not necessarily their bank accounts. Setting up automation so that those bills come out on time is important. The thing you have to worry about is insufficient funds, okay? This goes to monitor your account, actually knowing when things come in and out, all right? Create a folder, computer for receipts. That, it should be a simple slide and click. And you just have to practice this. This is not something tomorrow that you'll do, but just kind of keep in mind. And unfortunately, life will happen that say, I should have saved it like that. And those things will actually prompt you to do different things.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing really quick. I had a mortgage payment. This is actually a snapshot of mine. This is how I keep track of my stuff. I had a mortgage payment that they said that they didn't get. But I had my file. I sent it to them. They're like, oh yeah, we did get it. But had I not sent that file, had I not saved it, I probably would have owed double for my mortgage. So just keep that in mind. People do forget. Stuff happens on their end. But it's, make sure you just have that documented.
And that's a great point. So student loan people, bank people who collect payments, they're all the same type of folks. They usually don't have college degrees. Okay, so people you're sending thousands of dollars to every month, like you said, they make mistakes. Like we make mistakes on our jobs, right? We're human. They will do the same thing. It's just when it happens to you, it kind of hurts. But thankfully, she saved her payment. Now don't look at your bank accounts, but look at your amortization tables on your mortgages, on your car notes. Pay attention. This is you. You decided to buy that car. You decided to take out that note. As you step up as far as your student loan debt, you monitor those things. That is part of life. You set up your time, you bite your bullet. It's similar to doing the treadmill at the gym. It sucks, but you kind of have to do it. Next slide, please. Fraud. So as you're tracking and looking at these things, fraud will happen. Does anybody know what a credit freeze is? Kind of, sort of. Okay, so everybody heard about the Equifax data breach? Okay. So what that means was Equifax had a data breach, so people have your social security numbers, your name, basically everything they need to take your identity. Okay, so you're gonna look at your credit report one day and you have a house in Louisiana. That's a real thing, and that happens into this day world. So make sure you're checking not only your bank statements, but your credit reports. And everybody write down on your little notes, look into credit freezes, okay? Freeze your credit. Educational institutions like this, because they don't have all the money in the world to invest in cybersecurity, they are hit on a regular basis. And just because you've graduated, you're still in the database, right? So make sure you are doing whatever necessary to protect your credit, which revolves in your good name, which turns into job opportunities and getting discounts on things. This is all part of finance that they don't tell you to do. Look at anything suspicious? Beautiful example. I made that payment. They say, no, you don't. I have this proof here. Well, man, I guess you're right. That happens every day. You think things happen automatically, and people do try to do their best, but mistakes happen. Next slide, please. Mint app. This is the best tool I've ever seen to help you track your expenses. It actually gives you a little notification you can set as a threshold where you say, every time I make a payment over X, Y, and Z, I want to get a notification. So when you swipe that card, and you're like, man, I really want this, but you walk out the store, you get a little buzz on your phone that says you spent over $100, you're like, I have to change my behavior the rest of the month. Okay, so those are key. So go and write this down, www.mint.com. What it is an account aggregator, and it tracks your transactions.
It looks like this.
There you go. And it's kind of awesome. I'm glad you put this on here on the Mint app. At any point in time, if you have your Mint app set up correctly, you can know your net worth. In my business, I'm a wealth manager. Your net worth, that is my measure of success. Your net worth determines how many options that you have. It determines what you can do in your life because that number is growing. So being able to pull out your pocket and look at that gives you a reality check of your situation. Whether do I need to buy this, not buy this, go out to eat, stay at home. It's a very important measure. And these pie charts, I like to call those the heart chart. Where your treasure is, there so is your heart, right? So if you love only eating out, that's what you value. You can't say you care about social issues when all your money is going there, right? So it really determines who you are, this pie chart. If all you care about is your living situation, 50% of that will be your house, okay? So really determine who you want to be in your identity, and that will show directly what it is. Next slide, please. The more you save now, the better you are in the financial situation. I work with a lot of people in their 40s and they haven't saved $1. Some of them have sacrificed a lot for their kids, putting them in a better situation. Everybody has a story. But the earlier you take charge now into your situation and save, and a lot of people think, well, I'm foregoing things today. I'm foregoing things that I really want to do. But what it's really about is giving yourself options in the future. If you want to take another job that takes less pay, you can do that. You can do that with confidence. You can do that with integrity. Make sure you're paying all your bills and your obligations, okay? Life is just better when you can pay your bills and you're being a better financial steward. Opportunities will come to you because you can't attend certain events, because in capitalistic society we have a pay-to-play environment, right? Next slide, please. All right, beware of lifestyle inflation. What is that? As you make more money, you adjust. I went to school, so I deserve this car, okay? I worked hard all week, so I deserve to go out to eat, right? I had a stressful day, I need to do this thing, okay? I deserve to get, I guess, ladies' nails and toes done, all that stuff. Really question that. We're not going to talk about that today. Okay, that's something I talk to my clients about. But really figure out what you value. Is your good name more important than that blouse or that trip, right? Is your future freedom, the financial security of your children, your heirs, and all those things, is that more important than that purchase today? That's what we're really talking about. Really think about what you want out of life, and don't let your lifestyle, the things that are attainable to you today, really adjust your life. Right. Okay, we've already done those objectives. Next slide, we'll move on a little bit. Well, any questions?
It makes sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I'm the boogeyman, I'm the bad guy. So, that's what I do. All right.
Let's go back to that question.
This one, okay.
What is the one thing you can do immediately based on what you've learned in this module?
Anybody can answer, and Carl, I just want to get your opinions.
Same. Yeah. I don't look at my bank account, and that's really bad, because I know I'm really bad with this. If my bank account drops too low, I look at it, and it was like $15 left. I look at it, and it's like $100 more in there, and I'm really bad with that. So I gotta get my life together.
I can call my bank and figure out how much I'll owe monthly for my student loans.
I had a client that was paying on her student loans, signed up to register on a payment on a regular basis, but she never logged into the account. So every month she was in default because she missed that one payment back in the day. So you can think you're doing the right thing, but until you do that trust but verify process, which you'll learn through life, you need to verify everything with your finances. It's a good point.
I used to think one of the banks had like a conspiracy, because every time I would not balance my checking account, I would have like a 2 cents difference. Like it would be very close, but it would be like a penny or 2 cents off. And I'm like, imagine if they're taking a penny or 2 cents from everybody. Right, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if it was a mistake, because I hadn't balanced my checking account in that for an extended period of time. So I would definitely check it off. And so that's it.
Yeah.
Just be more mindful with your money, and be mindful with like your bills, keeping track of everything. Because like I said before, I had my mortgage. Like I thought they were handling it, but just because of the experiences I've had, like at Spelman, for example, they said I owe like a couple $1,000s. I was like, no, I don't. And like they looked at it, oh yeah, you're right. My bad.
Right.
But that's the stress level that you get. But if you're comfortable with what you have and what you documented for yourself, then there's nothing that's going to like affect you in that way versus someone else that didn't have anything saved and now they're stressed.
I just want to say, I found it very powerful when you were like, the pie chart is like your heart chart. Like, I think that was like very beneficial because it's like, man, like I'm saying this, but then what are my actions saying? So, yeah.
Well, no, somebody is, look at their bank statement. That will tell you exactly what they are, what they got. Everything else is talk, promise. Open up that, because that's what I do all day, right? Oh, you care about people, huh? Kids are important, huh? See your kid anywhere under there. And all I see is they have Jordans, but they may need a, external learning program, right? We're talking real life. Okay, next slide. Same goes. This is important. And looking around, who we got in the room? Ladies. African American ladies. You guys are going to be the leader, more than likely, in your household concerning your finances. Okay, so this wealth, golden years building, you guys are going to be the driving force. Even when most of my clients are female, and even when I have a client that's a couple, it's the woman driving that conversation. Why? Because you guys care, and there's a lot of social economic reasons why men are kind of depressed as far as building wealth and focusing on building wealth. So this is something, I know a lot of people come and they say, well, when I get married, I'm gonna clean it up, or when I get married, my husband's gonna take care of it all. Plan on marrying an African-American male, you guys will be driving the boat, okay? I'm gonna delete that in the recording. Next slide. Okay, understand types of retirement accounts, and employer plans, penalties, change enrollment options, different retirement strategies. We're gonna cover this. So, a little bit of background. So, at one time, the government said people are saving enough for retirement. We did not want the elderly population walking the streets begging. It's not a good look for our country, and it doesn't feel good in our hearts, right? So we're going to set up these plans to encourage people to save. So this is your government saying, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do something called give you a tax-advantaged account, a benefit, a pat on the back for savings. And your employers also stepped in and said, hey, we don't want to do that pension thing. We're going to do the 401k plan. Now, there are some companies with pensions. If you're in that company, but since there aren't, we have to do the 401k. Next slide, please. Okay, so 401k. 401k, what does 401k mean? 401k is basically the tax code, 401-K, right? And basically what it says is you can make, through your employer, tax-deferred contributions, okay? So that means on that little check we saw a contribution to your 401k. That comes out before taxes are assessed, okay? So it's a benefit because, one, it lowers your tax bill, right? Because you're kind of making less income, but you're contributing on a regular basis into this account, okay? An IRA, individual retirement account. So some employers do not provide that plan, so they prefer that you invest in an individual retirement account. You still get that tax-deferred benefit once you file your taxes. These vehicles are the primary means today how people save for retirement, okay? Any questions on these accounts? We're going to go into a little more details. All right, next slide. Our contributions to a traditional 401k plan deducted from your salary before or after taxes.
Y'all learning. Sometimes I would say that this was like the most difficult thing to grasp, like in school. So it's good to kind of just keep getting that thrown at you. Because taxes always make people just confused. Like, where does it go? But what's that? So that's good to discuss.
Yes. All right. Asset allocation. So this is what I do. I'd say about 20% of my life is doing asset allocation, deciding where an individual's assets should go. So once you enroll in your 401k plan, they're going to have options of different investments, stocks, bonds, growth, all those different things. If you guys do not have a financial advisor, just do the Target Retirement Account Plan and just dump all your money into that. So what is that? Target Retirement Account Plan is based off the year you plan on retiring, so it does all that mix of asset allocation for you, okay? I recommend everybody take time to learn about stocks and bonds, but I work with real people and adults. They're not going to do it, okay? But you should learn about those things because it does affect your life, what goes on around you, and what moves things in this world. about the different asset allocations. Go ahead and do that whole, stop, there you go. So there's different types of investments. There's things, and so when a client comes to me and they say, I want to invest money, first thing I have to do is assess their own risk tolerance, how much ability they are able to take risks. Some people are really risky, some people are really conservative. There's no right or wrong answer. All it is, you have to understand, if you're really conservative, you have to save a lot. If you are willing to take more risk, you don't have to save as much, okay? So this is the impact of $1,000. So if you're super conservative, and this is 25 years, you're gonna double your money. But if you take a little bit more risk, get 5 times your money. A little bit more, we talk about stocks, bonds, stable money market value. Let's quickly talk about what these are. So money market account, that's a bank account, a CD, all those different things. Stocks, those are the stock market. Past couple of days we had a big drop. That's the thing that goes up and down on a frequent basis. Bonds are debt that companies issue, okay? Bonds are a little bit more conservative than stocks. Bonds will not go up and down, okay? And stable money market value is the same thing. So as you move closer to stocks, those things that go up and down as far as investments, your risk goes up. But for the ability to emotionally handle that up and down of the market, you are going to be compensated usually by higher returns. Okay? So that's why as these investments goes up in stocks, your return goes up. Now, as you get older, as you get closer to retirement, and you guys all are going to have $1 million because y'all listen to me today, right? I'm speaking that into existence. You guys have $1 million, you're not going to want to see your money go up and down like that, right? You're retired. So you're going to move a little bit closer to bonds and money markets so you don't deal with that stress. But while you're young, while you're earning money, and while you usually can't get this money, we're going to talk about the year that you can pull these monies out, you want to invest more into stocks. Okay, so the best part about a 401k is your employer match. As it says here, it's free money. So what is an employer match? So your employer can actually contribute, so you contribute 5% of your income, they can match that dollar for dollar. Each employer is different. I've seen employers that only match 3. I've seen employers that do 6%. How much of your employer?
Hey, bad, 2%.
2%. But she takes it though.
But I take it because it's free money.
You put that in your pocket. So they're matching that. So basically, if you make $100,000 and you're contributing 5%, and they match another 5%, that's an extra $5,000 of income every year that you're saving. So this is real money invested over time. As you saw, that $1,000 can quickly turn into 8. You do that every year times 5, it adds up over time. All right?
Which is just like a brief example.
Okay. Yeah. Next slide, please. Early withdrawal. So life happens. We live in a world where a lot of people lose their job. And there's times where people have to withdraw money out of their 401k. Never put yourself in that situation. Do the budget, have those cash reserves. We didn't talk about emergency funds. Hopefully we'll talk about that tomorrow. But that emergency fund is to prevent you from pulling money from your 401k. The goal I always say to shoot for is have about a year's worth of living expenses in your bank account. We, as African Americans, we don't like to hold cash for some reason. But when you have cash, it opens up a whole nother world to you. If you want to buy a house, you need to have money for those fixes. Roof caves in, electricity happens. Having those reserves really changes your mindset on money. And if you have entrepreneurship ambitions, that's seed capital for what you want to do, okay? But if you do take an early withdrawal, let's see, you can do that by investing in your home. There is something that you can actually not get the 10% penalty. So first, if you take a withdrawal, you're probably gonna have a tax penalty, right? It's gonna be probably taxed at 20%. The second thing is they're gonna do a 10% penalty. So it's not exactly 30%, but mathematically it's around that percentile. So you are basically telling yourself every time you take a 401k withdrawal that I'm gonna take about a 30% loan, that interest rate, just to take that money down. It's not a good financial decision, but life happens, and sometimes you need to make that move, right? Next slide, please. Rollover options. So because I'm a millennial as well, we're millennials, we like to job hop all the time. Rollover previous employer, right, and you move your money, I highly recommend that if you leave your previous employer, don't leave it there. Move it either into another institution or your current job. You don't want to have 5 or 10 different IRAs floating around because, as we talked about, because we adult, we have to save the files, it just becomes an administrative nightmare to monitor those accounts. So this side right here talks about different rollovers. So when you have a 401k, you leave that employer, you're gonna roll that over to what's called a traditional IRA. So it's like setting up a bank account. You just go onto the institution, you have your Vanguards, you have your Fidelities, Charles Schwab, all those major brokerage accounts, and you just fill out an account. And all you do is call your previous 401k and you roll that over. So that's called the roll over. A lot of slang terminology. And you can roll over to a different bank or your employer's plan. Or you can keep it where it's at, but like I said, that's another administrative person. That's another lady that can fat finger. That's another thing you have to worry about in your mind, and our lives are so busy. I want you guys making money, not worrying about where your money is put all the time. Still worry about it, but not focus so hard on that. Next one, please. Saving for
Did that all make sense, guys?
Oh, my goodness. If I'm going too fast, you say, whoa.
Yeah, I know we have to leave. I'm sorry for keeping you guys a little bit later than expected. But this is really like the meat of understanding. When you start working, you have to understand this stuff. So just let me know if it's confusing. We can talk after. That's fine. Okay, cool.
I'll leave some cards so if y'all can reach out, shoot me a quick email. So saving for retirement goal. All right, so wealth building strategy. Educate yourself about money. You guys have, when you go to your employer, you guys say, I want to get paid X amount. As soon as those account monies start hitting your account, you're responsible for it, right? And that means you have to actually learn about it. Or pay somebody to learn about it. Pay somebody to handle it for you, like me. One or the other, you guys have to have stewardship over that money. And I wish more people would take that a little bit more seriously. Establish a financial goal. If you don't set a goal, you'll always hit your target, right? Set financial goals. I want to have $100,000 by this age. I want this much saved out of my bank account by this time. If you don't set hard financial goals, you're just going to be aimlessly going around, and then you're going to turn 50 years old, and you're going to call me, and you're going to say, what can I do? And I can say, pray, because it's hard, right? It's not impossible, but it makes things harder. Start setting your goals today. As soon as you guys receive your diploma, sign up for your first job, say, this is where I am today, the State of the Union. I don't care, some people are in a better or worse situation, but set those hard goals. I want to be here, I want to be there. If you miss those goals, ask yourself, what happened and how can I adjust and can I overcome it? That will put you guys well ahead of your peers, significantly ahead of your peers. Create a spending plan. We talked about creating a budget. As you save those files, as you save those transactions, you guys should be budgeting your money and tracking that. Control and eliminate debt. The borrower is slave to the lender, right? That's just simple, straightforward. Why? There's no, let me say that. There's no real reason to want to hold debt in your life, okay? People say, why don't you use somebody else's money? Well, that applies to when you're not on the hook for that money. So if you set up an LLC and that business takes out a debt, that's different than you, Randall Lavery, taking out that debt and they can come take my house from me, okay? Try to eliminate debt and be free of those debt obligations. There's no real good reason, in my opinion, to harbor debt. Is there any conflicts on that? Because that's a little controversial. Take advantage of compounding interest. What that means is, as you saw, that 25 years, that $1,000 double, triple, 5 times, that's taking advantage of compound interest. That's starting today instead of waiting until you're 50 and calling me saying, hey, fix my situation. Start as early as possible. Take a step back and let that money work for you. You work hard for that money. Somebody should be working just as hard as you are. And that number one person is what you've saved up, okay? Take advantage of tax advantage accounts. We already talked about that. Create a habit of saving. I recently received a client and I said, okay, so how much do you want to save? She's like, well, I don't really save. I just kind of make it by. You should always have a regular savings goal, okay? Where you at today, your cash balance, tomorrow it should be higher. The next day it should be higher. progressively moved. Like, I know it's not common for people to have, let's say, $20,000 in savings just sitting there for your security, but we're having this conversation now. You've heard it. It's possible, it's done, and people who have that security, they're able to laugh and smile and truly enjoy life. All right? Health is your wealth. I just had a client retire, and my first conversation after retirement is, you know, the biggest concern I have for you in your financial picture is how healthy you're going to be, okay? You can save up a lot of money, but healthcare can strip out hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's one of the main reasons people take deposits or take withdrawals from their 401k is for health reasons, okay? It's just important. Take care of your health, because let's say you save up a lot of money, but you're sick. Are you happy, right? You actually are happier if you don't have any money and are healthy. So you have to balance that out. Work your job, work hard, do what's necessary to get the job done, but preserve your health. There's nothing more important than your health. That includes dieting, working out, and my primary client base are behavioral health individuals, clinicians, psychologists. That mental health part, making sure you're solid there is just as important as the physical and dietary things. Okay?
And it's hard to be mentally solid when you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt looming and you're working just to pay somebody back.
Yeah. And write this down, guys. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is like one of the #1 books, just like understanding your financial like wellness. And a podcast that I personally love is Bigger Pockets Money. They have a lot of people come on the show and just talk about their just quest of being financially independent and not having to work for someone the rest of their lives and having the option of doing their own thing or just, you know, not having to work at all because they built up their savings and they were able to invest early. So I really highly recommend those two, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Bigger Pockets Money.
That's important. It's immerse yourself in information and things that you want to be. So when you guys graduate and work your lovely careers, immerse yourself into that career, but also immerse yourself in around things that help you with your finances. And unfortunately, that means surround yourself with friends that are doing positive things with your finances. You have a friend that always overspends, always have credit card debt. It doesn't mean completely separate from them, but try to spend your time with individuals who are showing good money habits, because where you put your money is your heart, right? That's what you believe. And if that person believes they're not being a good steward with their money, I'm sorry to say they're not a good steward in other things in their life. It's a direct correlation.
I think that was all the objectives. Did we cover those?
Types of retirement accounts, we got those. Employee plans, we talked about that. Know the penalties of early withdrawals. We talked about 10% penalty. Rollover options. I hope you guys have some little mental model on how to approach rollovers. And strategy for savings and retirement. I think we covered those.
All right, guys, this is the end of everything. You have any questions, takeaways? Was this helpful? It was helpful? Stuff that you kind of didn't know or didn't think about a different way? How do you guys feel?
It's like it's a lot because like being a freshman in college, this is my first time being like financially on my own. So like this is good information.
Great.
Very good. Very good.
Is it too much information almost? No? Okay. That's good. Okay. Yeah?
What's the next slide? Like one thing you all can do based on what you learned in this module on the retirement.
Take advantage of employer match.
I need to get a job first.
It's a little thing.
Take advantage of like compound interest and stuff like that and educate yourself about your options about retirement while retirement is so far away.
Yeah. You have your whole life ahead of you. You start now, you won't have to worry about it.
One thing you can definitely do, ask your parents, grandparents, elders in your family, and even in your community, ask them about money. They will tell you some things that may surprise you, whether the things that they did wrong that you can participate in, or they can tell you some things that they did to be successful. There's some things, we do have to take extra steps, and they have had to take a lot of extra steps to be where they are. Especially if you have somebody in your family or friends that are pretty well established financially, ask them what they did. What I've noticed is how people build wealth is pretty boring, right? You would yawn how they do it, but it works like clockwork every single time, okay? So that exciting lifestyle, all those other things, that's all TV. Okay.
I guess one last thing, Dave Ramsey. Dave, Ramsey. Look him up and his philosophy, and he's all about living debt-free. So I'll encourage you guys to research him.
Tell them on the makeovers his book.
Yeah, he helps you get out of debt. So student loans is one thing, for example. He has an Instagram page too. You follow him. There'll be people taking pictures saying that they paid off their house in 5 years, or they paid all their student loans. So he gives you kind of like tools and things to restrain yourself from your lifestyle inflation.
And one thing he always says is, you know, your legacy. You guys want your kids to be in a financial good situation, you have to be in a better financial situation. There's no way. A lot of financial literacy is passed down generation to generation. Not just money, but also habits. So if you want to break the chains of what you've experienced or your parents experienced, you have to actually start showing those behaviors. It just won't happen. So Dave Ramsey is pretty awesome. Any other questions? I have some business cards y'all can take care of. So if you have any questions or something, I can quickly answer. I'll let you guys close out.
Thank you guys for
Thank you.
coming. We're gonna have a survey, so make sure that you get it in your email and fill it out, just so we know what we're doing right, what we can do better. And are we gonna see you guys tomorrow? Yay!
Hey, tomorrow
We'll have
we got
food.
credit and building wealth.
Really well, yeah. So similar topics, but they all come together. So if you come to tomorrow and you kind of learn what you did today, it'll all start to fall together. And please do the budgeting